is, and of course make us all think. Well, how is everybody doing this beautiful grand morning? And by the way, it doesn't matter whether you're watching it this evening, this afternoon, or right now. Because the truth is, time is just a construct that we created. Today we're going to talk about some really important things. The prison of forgetting who you are. Yeah. Oh, looks like we got someone who might be remembering who they are. Hello, good morning. Hello, doofers. London again. London, my man. Hello, good morning. Welcome up. Come on up. Come and join in. So, let's take a deep breath. Let's start and get ourselves centered. All right? Take a breath in and hold. Let go. Let our shoulders relax. Take another breath. And hold. Let go. Let our jaw unclench. And let's put our hands on our heart. Let's just say the fallen mindset, the matrix, the Diablo system, body, mind, soul, and being, deactivate, turn off. And we just say to the divine, the blueprint of our original design, fully activate, fully turn on. Let's take a breath. And hold. Let go. Well, let me just do one quick share here and we're going to get going. There we have it. All right, we got a couple others. Here we are. We are back and live. So we want to talk about the prison of forgetting who you are this morning. So what if I told you that the greatest problem, the biggest problem humanity actually has, and the biggest problem in your life is actually not what you think it is? Not at all. What if I told you it's not your circumstances? And it's not even other people either. It's not a lack of opportunity either. See, the greatest problem is that you have forgotten who you are. That's the real problem right here. It's not intellectual, but at a level of being. See, humanity actually suffers from one condition and one condition only. It's called forgetfulness. Not forgetfulness of the world, but forgetfulness of self. And this is the greatest prison ever created. To make humanity forget who they are. Not a prison made of walls either. Hello, Grand Risings. No, but it's a prison made of mistaken identity, actually. Because when you forget who you are, guess what happens? You believe you are anything the world tells you. That's right. You're controlled. And that is where the trap begins, right there. You're controlled about people's perceptions of you, the way the world sees you. And from that moment we are born, we are conditioned into these identities, our stories. We are told who we are before we even discover it ourselves. And psychology calls this constructed self. Carl Jung spoke about this when he described the persona, the mask we wear to function in this society. And he warned us of the greatest danger is not having a mask, but believing that the mask is who you are. And that's what's happened to humanity. We've believed we're these stories. We've believed we're our jobs. We've believed we're so much more of these things that are material and fear-based and everything. And that's what happened to humanity. It's how we got imprisoned. We began to look at the external world rather than the internal. So we've mistaken the masks for our actual faces. We've made masks our identities. So in reality, all of us are sitting there in a bunch of stewing lies. See, in my book, Return to Eden, I explain that humanity is not lost. We're misidentified. And we have been introduced to a version of ourselves and told this is who you are. Even the churches do it. I mean, our organizations are schools. And we just start to accept it. Hey, how's it everyone going? And then not because it's true, but because it was repeated over and over again in repetition. I mean, it makes it stick. Neuroscience shows that repetition creates identity. Neural pathways strengthen, and the more they are used, so the more you are told something about yourself, and the more you repeat it, the more real it becomes. But see, repetition does not equal truth. It only equals familiarity, and that's it. I sound like Sarah Connor, yeah. So now we have billions of people walking around as familiar versions of themselves, but not true versions of themselves. And this creates what we can call spiritual amnesia, a forgetting of origin, a forgetting of essence, a forgetting of the deeper self that exists beneath all conditioning. See, there's a reason ancient wisdom has always pointed inward. Here's the real thing. Even Yeshua said the kingdom is within him, which is what I'm talking about. So maybe listen, and you might discover something. See, there's a reason, actually, ancient wisdom has always pointed inward. See, there's an ancient wisdom has always pointed inward. And the temple of Defy, it was written, know thyself. Not improve thyself, not become more known. Because what you are is not something you need to create. It is something you need to uncover. Socrates, he said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Why? Because if you ever examine who you are, you will live as who you are not. And most people never question themselves deeply enough. They question their jobs. They question relationships. They question their circumstances. But they rarely question their identity. And that is not rude. See, most people ask, what should I become? But very few ask, who am I underneath everything that's been taught to be? And that question is uncomfortable because it requires you to sit in silence without immediately reaching for an answer. Yo, how's it going, Drifting Breamer? Thousands of years later, we're still waiting for your evidence, right? Yeah. So in my book, one of my books, Return to Eden, there's 3 books of it I've written. By the way, you can find in my descriptions, not in descriptions on this video, but, in the bio area, a tree link that'll get you to where my books are. Otherwise, you can look up Awakened series by Ariel Hooper in Amazon and you'll find them. But I wrote this: the search for truth is not outward expansion, but inward excavation. Because awakening is not about adding knowledge. It is about removing illusion. And Gnostic's teaching spoke of something called the divine spark. Yeshua talked about the kingdom within. It's a fragment of the divine within each and every one of us. You know, in Scripture it says, the kingdom of God is within you. It's not outside, not in the future, within. You know, but if it is within, why do we not experience it? Because it is unrecognized, not absent, unrecognized. And that distinction changes everything. You know, big BS 710, if you would spend more time listening rather than talking, you might find that you find an expansion and you're making some judgments that are way off base. You come into my chat making a ton of assumptions, and you think you're acting in love, but you're acting in disruption. Because love would listen. Love takes time. See, Yeshua is my brother, who I know in the face-to-face of all existence. So you're speaking of someone you don't know. You're speaking of an image that was created actually here. Which you're warned not to do, not to create false idols and false images. And yet that's what it is. North America don't even have the real scriptures, and I spent 7 years studying theology, so you might not want to go to bat with me with scripture, because I'll point out, even Yeshua said himself in John 10:34, it's not written in your laws, but I tell you the truth, you are all gods, part of the Elohim. He said the kingdom is within, which is what we're discussing today. So pay attention. Step back a little bit and be love and listen. We are way more witnesses in what we are in life by being than by speaking. Words mean absolutely nothing. What are you in the mirrored image is my question. Hey, you're an upcoming rapper looking for some exposure. A little. Well, dude, that's good. I would have to listen to your music and stuff, man. But hey, welcome to listen. So it is within. But if it is within, why do we not experience it? Because it is unrecognized. It's not absent. See, unrecognized. And that distinction changes everything. Because if something is absent, you must go find it. But if something is present and unrecognized, you must become aware of it. So, and that is completely different path. And in my book, I describe this as the original blueprint of our consciousness. The original blueprint of our design. The spark. The divine. So prior to identity, prior to religion, prior to thoughts, and the journey is not becoming divine. It's you are already divine. And the spark of the divine's been covered by a bunch of shit. And even modern psychology touches on this idea. See, here we go. Interesting thing is what I teach touches on every single area, including your scriptures. It's remembering that you already are. Even modern psychology touches on that, and it says there is something called the observer self, the part of you that is aware of your thoughts. And if you can observe a thought, that thought is not you. If you can observe an emotion, that emotion is not you. So who is the observer? Hey, Drift Beamer, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to put you as a moderator. There you go. We've known each other long enough. I give you that spot. So, I'm going to let you deal with that one. We're not going to let it take up this. Because there's more important things. All right. Thanks, man. That question alone can begin to break the illusion. And because now you are no longer fully identified with what passes through your mind. You begin to see that thoughts come and go, but something remains. And that something is closer to your true nature. Even quantum physics points in this direction. The observer effect suggests that the acts of observation influences what is observed. Meaning reality is not as fixed as we once believed. It is in part shaped by perception. So now we begin to see a pattern across disciplines. Philosophy says, know thyself. Spirituality, Christianity says the kingdom is within. Psychology says you are not your thoughts. And science says the observer affects reality. Look at that. What I teach hits every level of what we in the world would even put down as going, this is truth. Every level, what I'm teaching you guys. There is not a corner that it doesn't touch. Every level. It all points to one truth. One thing. There's something deeper within you than what you have ever been told. And yet we continue to look outward. We continue to try to fit in. We continue to make noises. We continue to force our truth down the throats of others. To the point we would even take lives in that place. But we miss the boat every day. There has always been something deeper within you. You see, we've been taught to chase success. Chase validation. Chase to be seen. We compare ourselves constantly. Ma'am, if you took this seriously, then you would be like Yeshua and sit and listen. Because one who listens knows where to speak. And if you're not going to listen, then you're nothing more than a disruption, which is where we're going to silence you for a little while and give you some time to think. See, we're always looking for validation. We compare ourselves constantly. Even Theodore Roosevelt once said, comparison is the thief of joy. But it is deeper than that. Comparison is the thief of identity. Because the more you compare yourself to others, the further you move away from yourself. And nature does not compare. A tree does not look at another tree and question its worth. It's like, yo, hey, man, could you just, like, look at this? Like, is this good? Am I bending my branches just right? My leaves okay right now? See, a tree does not look to another tree and question its worth. It does not rush its growth. It does not try to become something else. It simply unfolds according to its blueprint. And that is intelligence. That is alignment. But humans have been pulled away from this. And we've been conditioned to believe that who we are is not enough. So we begin to build identities based on approval. And in doing so, we lose connection with what is real. And in one of my books I write, distraction is the currency of disconnection. And the beauty of life is we don't have to deal with you either. All right, give you some time to think. See, distraction is the currency of disconnection, which is what all that was, is distraction. Because the more distracted you are, the less aware you become. And the less aware you are, the easier it is to forget. And this is why stillness is so powerful, because in stillness, the noise begins to fade. And what remains starts to reveal itself. Now let's go deeper into the mind. The untrained mind reacts instantly. Something happens and immediately it labels it. Good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. Crying now. Hugs, man. Right. See, Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, he said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. I mean, how are we reacting? And psychology calls this cognitive framing. You know, the meaning you give to an event shapes your experience of it. So the inner kingdom is governed by perception. What's your perception? Nothing has meaning until your mind assigns it. And this is where your power is. Because if meaning is created internally, then your experience of life is also created internally. And the untrained mind accepts appearance as truth. But a trained mind pauses. It observes. It pays attention. It questions. And in that pause, you break the automatic cycle. In Return to Eden, my third book, I wrote, the moment you pause, you step out of the unconscious reaction and into conscious awareness. And that is where transformation begins. Because now you are no longer controlled by what happens. You're aware of how to interpret what happens. Thanks, man. And that awareness creates space. And in that space, you have freedom. I mean, Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. That space is the doorway. Ariel Hooper is my author name. And you can get my books on Amazon. You just type in Awaken Ariel Hooper, and there's 3 books. So that space is a doorway back to yourself. Because in that space, you are no longer trapped in conditions. You're present. You're in the moment. You're aware. You're conscious. So it don't even matter what's going on the outside. And this is what awakening really is. Not some mystical event, but a return to awareness. A return to presence. A return to what has always been here, because the truth is, you are not here to learn who you are. You are here to remember. What you are has never been lost, only covered. Like diamonds buried beneath dirt. Its value never changed. Only its visibility did. So the work is not becoming something new. It is removing what is false. Letting go what is not you. Seeing through what you were taught to believe. And slowly, gently returning to yourself. And when you begin to recognize this, you realize something profound. The truth was never absent. It was simply unrecognized. The divine spark is within you. It is not far away. It is not separate from you. It is what you are beneath everything you are not. And recognition is the key, not effort, not force. Recognition, seeing clearly. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So I'll leave you with this. Who are you without your story? Who are you without your past? Who are you without the voice in your mind? I mean, don't answer it quickly. Just sit with it for a second. You're welcome. Because this is not something you think your way into. This is something you realize, and when you do, you will see that what you were searching for was never outside of you. It has been within you the entire time, waiting to be remembered. Just waiting. Ascension said BS on timeout. Laugh out loud. Thank you. I appreciate you guys all. Yeah, I tell you, man, recognizing that you, the entire time, discovering that you're the divine spark this entire time, that the original blueprint of your design, And it's just been covered by a bunch of shit. Which is easy. You just clean it up. Wash it away. Which, the process doesn't feel easy when you're in it. As a matter of fact, to this day, I'm thinking about my process and it makes me drop to the ground into a goo of tears. The recognition that this whole time, every finger's been just pointing at you. And you put yourself in this own prison. And he had the keys this whole time. You're watching from London, England. Well, awesome, man. Are you having yourself a spot of tea this morning? Such a good bloke. I don't know, I might have sucked and screwed that one up. I apologize if I did. But you see, my family's got some Scottish background, so I can do that one a little bit better. As a character and more as awareness day by day, right? Ascension, how you doing, man? Hey, Ascension, you know what I want to do for you is this. You've been around for a long time as well, man. And we need some people, so there you go. All right? Giving you that. I see myself less as a character and more as awareness day by day. Yeah. Yeah, you know, and it's an amazing thing because sometimes what I feel is like a cloud just floating around watching things. Like, I don't even know, like, what the explanation is. It's just like... And it's funny, though. I really recognized I was in the wrong place and getting myself in a spot where it was like the world was kind of shaking me for a little bit. And I got away and I just kind of sat out by the ocean, got my meditation, went, what? Gave myself a shake, went, what are you doing? You know, and then there's the diamond right there. It's beautiful. Yeah, a ray of source light. It's 100%. OAP. You're welcome, dude. Where does the ray and source become two? It blurs and in essence are one. 100%. 100%. Oh, well, you guys, time for me to get started on my day. But peace and love to you guys all. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right? Take her easy, we guys. What That's what we call that. Kind of, the cat took my tongue and ran off with it somewhere, and I haven't found it yet. So we'll find it somewhere. All right, you guys, take care. Peace. And